Dangerous Liaison. Melanie Pearson had always been drawn to the finer things in life. Growing up in a middle-class family in suburban Chicago, she'd dreamed of penthouse apartments, designer clothes, and exotic vacations. Now, at 28, she was determined to make those dreams a reality. One wealthy man at a time. The Le Bernardin restaurant buzzed with the quiet chatter of New York's elite. Melanie sat across from James Holloway, a 55-year-old real estate mogul with salt and pepper hair and a Rolex that probably cost more than her yearly rent. She laughed at his joke, her hand playfully touching his arm. "James, you're so witty, and this restaurant is simply divine," Melanie said, her blue eyes sparkling in the soft candlelight. James leaned back, a self-satisfied smile playing on his lips. "Only the best for you, darling. By the way, how about a trip to Europe next week? I have some business in Paris, but we could extend it. Maybe hit up the French Riviera." Melanie's heart raced. This was exactly what she'd been hoping for. "Oh, that would be wonderful!" she exclaimed, already mentally packing her bags. As they finished their meal, Melanie couldn't help but feel a sense of triumph. James was her ticket to the life she'd always wanted. Sure, he was older and maybe she didn't feel that spark of true love, but he could give her everything she'd ever dreamed of. What more could a girl want? Later that night, Melanie bid James goodbye outside the restaurant, declining his offer of a ride home. She preferred to walk the few blocks to her apartment, enjoying the cool night air and the buzz of the city. As she strolled down the dimly lit street, her heels clicking on the pavement, she noticed a sleek black Aston Martin parked at the curb. A man stood beside it, looking slightly lost. As Melanie approached, the man turned to her. He was younger than James, maybe mid-30s, with dark hair and piercing green eyes. His tailored suit spoke of wealth, and his smile was disarmingly charming. "Excuse me, miss," he said, his voice smooth as silk. "I seem to be a bit lost. Could you help me?" Melanie's instincts told her to keep walking, but something about this man intrigued her. Maybe it was the car, or the suit, or just the allure of another potential wealthy suitor. She found herself moving closer. "Of course," she replied with a smile. "Where are you trying to go?" The man, who introduced himself as Eric, explained that he was looking for a specific art gallery. As they talked, Melanie found herself more and more drawn in by his charm and obvious affluence. When he offered to buy her a drink as thanks for her help, she readily accepted. That was the last anyone saw of Melanie Pearson for 3 harrowing days. Detective Sarah Johnson stood in Melanie's apartment, her experienced eyes taking in every detail. The place was a mess, clear signs of a struggle. A broken lamp lay shattered on the floor, and there were scuff marks on the hardwood where someone had clearly been dragged. "Check the surveillance cameras in the area," Sarah instructed her partner, Detective Mike Ramirez, "and put out an APB on Melanie Pearson. Something very bad happened here." As they canvassed the neighborhood, a picture began to emerge. Several witnesses remembered seeing Melanie talking to a well-dressed man by an expensive car. It wasn't much to go on, but it was a start. Back at the precinct, Sarah pored over files on her computer, a frown deepening on her face. "Mike," she called out, "come look at this." Her partner leaned over her shoulder, his eyes widening as he took in the information on the screen. 3 similar cases in the past month. You think we've got a serial?" Sarah nodded grimly. "Looks like it. All young, attractive women. All last seen with a well-dressed man in an expensive car, and all with a history of dating wealthy older men." "He's using money as bait," Mike mused. preys on their desires for a luxurious lifestyle. Exactly, Sarah agreed. And we need to find him before he strikes again. The next 48 hours were a whirlwind of activity. Sarah and her team worked around the clock, following every lead, no matter how small. They pored over traffic camera footage, interviewed Melanie's friends and acquaintances, and dug deep into the backgrounds of the other victims. Finally, a breakthrough came in the form of a partial license plate captured on a security camera near where one of the other victims had disappeared. It wasn't much, but it was enough for the tech team to work their magic. "We've got a name," the lead technician announced, his voice tight with excitement. "Eric Blackwood. And you're not going to believe this. He's the heir to a major tech fortune, lives in a mansion upstate." Sarah's blood ran cold. That's how he's been luring them in. He really is rich. Within hours, a tactical team was assembled, and they were on their way to Blackwood's estate. As they approached the sprawling mansion, Sarah felt a mix of determination and dread. They had no idea what they might find inside. "All units, prepare to move in," Sarah spoke into her radio, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "On my mark! 3, 2, 1, go!" The team breached the house with precision, clearing room after room, and then from the basement came the sound that Sarah had both hoped and dreaded to hear, a woman's scream. "This way!" she shouted, leading the charge down the stairs. What they found in the basement would haunt Sarah for years to come. Melanie was there, along with 2 other women, the missing victims from the previous cases. They were alive, but barely, showing signs of severe trauma and malnutrition. Eric Blackwood didn't go down without a fight. In the ensuing struggle, he managed to wound 2 officers before Sarah herself took him down with a well-placed shot to the shoulder. As the paramedics rushed in to tend to the victims, Sarah allowed herself a moment of relief. They'd done it. They'd saved lives today. A week later, Sarah sat by Melanie's hospital bed. The young woman was recovering physically, but the emotional scars would take much longer to heal. "We got him, Melanie," Sarah said softly. "You're safe now." Melanie turned her head, her once vibrant eyes now dull with pain and regret. "Thank you," she whispered. "I was so stupid." Sarah shook her head. "This wasn't your fault. Blackwood was a predator who used his wealth to lure in his victims. He's the only one to blame here." A tear slid down Melanie's cheek. "I just wanted, I thought money could buy happiness, you know? That if I could just land a rich guy, all my problems would be solved." "And now?" Sarah asked gently. Melanie was quiet for a long moment. "Now I know that there are more important things in life than money. Like being alive, being safe." She managed a weak smile. "Maybe even doing something meaningful with my life." As Sarah left the hospital that day, she couldn't help but reflect on the case. It had been a stark reminder of the dangers that could lurk behind a charming smile and a fat wallet. But it had also shown the resilience of the human spirit. Melanie and the other survivors had a long road ahead of them, but Sarah had a feeling they would come out stronger on the other side. And maybe, just maybe, their story would serve as a cautionary tale to others who might be tempted to value wealth over their own safety and self-worth. In the end, Sarah mused, the most valuable things in life couldn't be bought with any amount of money. Things like trust, genuine connection, and the satisfaction of making a positive difference in the world. Those were the true measures of a rich life, and no designer handbag or luxury car could ever compare.